Hello, everyone. So I'm here to preview the Giant game tomorrow. So offensively, they ranked sixth in total offense at 403.2, seventh in passing yards at 274.2 per game. They're tied for seventh in sacks allowed, allowing only 7. And they're eighth in rushing yards at 129 a game, just even. And they're third in yards per carry at 5.5 a clip. So on third down, they're tied for 17th at 39% and 16th in points per game at 21.8. Defensively, they lack a little more. They are the 25th total defense as of right now, allowing 389.2 yards a game, 25th in passing yards allowed, 279.5, and tied for 14th in sacks with only 10. So they're 19th in rushing yards allowed in 109.8, tied 10th, my bad, in yards per carry allowed at 3.9. They're 10th in third down percentage at 35%, 21st in points per game allowed at 24.2. Now, their injury report is relatively short, but it's also kind of a big loss, especially in Saquon Barkley. We all know he's not going to play this week. Alec Ogletree, he's also not going to play due to a hamstring. He's one of their starting middle linebackers. And Tay Davis, another linebacker, he's out for a concussion. And Lorenzo Carter is an edge rusher who's questionable with a neck. So you could be talking 3 potential linebackers out for this game, which I think, as far as Minnesota is concerned, when you're talking about the way they would like to win, that's kind of a massive deal. Offensively, Minnesota is 24th in total offense at 324.2 a game, 31st in passing yards at 169.0, but they are tied 10th in sacks allowed at 8 after allowing 6 in Chicago. They are third in rushing yards at 155.2, fourth in yards per carry at 5.2, and 12th in third down percentage at 42%, 18th in points per game at 21. Defensively, they are 6th in total defense right now, allowing 312.8 yards a game. They're 9th in passing yards allowed at 218.5, and they're tied 10th in sacks at 11 after not having much pass rush last week, and 11th in rushing yards allowed at 94.2, and tied 7th in yards per carry allowed at 3.7. Now they are 5th in third down percentage at 30% and 5th in points per game allowed at 15.8. And the Minnesota's is also fairly short. There's only 2 guys on it. They're both out. Alexander, he's out with an elbow/groin. I assume this one's more of the groin because he played last week after dislocating his elbow in week 1. So I imagine this is more of a new development with a groin injury, which really sucks. But we still have Mike Hughes, so that's all right. Perhaps, maybe. I mean, obviously it's never good to not have a corner, but. And then Kentrell Brothers, he's out still with a wrist and a hamstring. So now we get to the fun part. So offensively, I think it should be interesting to see Kirk versus a relatively weak pass defense, given the fact that this is kind of been a fun week of shenanigans, specifically with Diggs and apologizing to Thielen and a whole bunch of other things. But it would be nice to see him maybe take some shots every once in a while. You don't have to just take the check down. I understand this could be more of a issue with the pass protection forcing him to check it down, but I still think he needs to be able to trust his eyes and just chuck it. It doesn't matter that you have the offensive line problem. He kind of had it last year too, but we still saw some shots down the field every once in a while last year. So it'd be kind of nice to see him go into mostly just get out of his own way, get out of his own head, so to speak. And I would expect the run game to carry them again this week. Well, offensively, at what they would like to do, I assume that's how they would like to be playing this still. And I think pass protection should probably be better just because it's not Chicago. You're not talking, Leonard Floyd and Eddie Goldman and Khalil Mack and all those kind of guys. Even though Akeem Hicks wasn't there, they still had pass rushers. So I expect it just in general to be a little easier this week to both run and pass protect just because you aren't dealing with the Bears. And it would be kind of nice to maybe see some more Alexander Madison or Irv Smith, specifically Irv Smith, just because you are looking at an offense that needs two tight ends. So you want the more explosive guy out there sometimes. And that would be Irv Smith, not Kyle Rudolph. If you want to get more shots off of these play action fakes, perhaps you put in the more explosive tight end. I don't know, just a thought. Defensively, you have to play contain on the young quarterback. And that is a big deal because he will run. This is not Eli Manning. Eli Manning will stand there in the pocket and take sacks instead of trying to run most of the time because he knows he can't. Daniel Jones, he can run. And no Barkley means you need to make the kid beat you through the air. So you need to be sending blitzes and creative looks as early and often as you possibly can, which also means you need to keep that run game from being effective. As I said before, over the course of this year so far, they're averaging 5.5 yards a carry. And I know there's going to be a lot of people like, well, they had Saquon Barkley most of the weeks. Well, last week they still averaged 4.4 yards per carry as a team without Saquon Barkley, pretty much. And Golden Tate comes back this week for them. Kind of a known Viking killer, so to speak. Seems like every time he has couple big plays to kind of ruin things for us. So contain him as much as possible because that is a guy who has kind of murdered them in the past. And I do think you need to force turnovers just because I don't know if I trust our offense to always go down 80 yards. It's not really something we do very often. So